Hello Aries, this is a timeless reading for you. I'm using my own tarot cards, my medieval oracle deck, and in the middle of your reading we have the sword. Around the sword we have the laurels, the mermaid, the king, and the healer. And there is, on one hand, the sword can have, in my deck, the typical meanings that swords can have, like cutting something, stabbing something, and so on. But mainly it speaks of destiny, it speaks of individuality, of something that is tailored for you specifically. Like, the Excalibur sword being stuck in that rock and only one person being able to pull it out. This is one thing I'm getting. There's something very strongly about your destiny at the time this reading finds you. And the thing is, you are not even aware when you are in this situation. Everything might happen very quickly. There is some kind of success attached to this part of your destiny that you might not expect. You might not even expect that this is your destiny. You might be overwhelmed. You might be, I don't mean that in any negative sense when I'm saying you might even be quite naive when you find yourself in this time. And suddenly something will shift that you have never expected, and it could be a little bit scary for you even, this kind of success. Because we have the laurels here in the unconscious pattern, and I think the laurels can also be a small success. And I'm not seeing here a lot of coins or something, but this is what I'm intuitively feeling, like there is some huge success. And what I'm also feeling with this card, usually I see it the way, as I already explained with the Excalibur situation, that only one person can pull it out. But for some reason, that's how I see it the first time today. It reminds me of like hitting the nail right into the right spot and right on the head, like bringing something onto the point so accurately, like just being in the right space at the right time without you even being aware of it. Maybe you have created something and presented. Maybe you don't even present it. Maybe you just put it out somewhere and no one ever gave it attention, and suddenly it appears just at the right time. People start to see it and it becomes a huge success. And you don't expect it at all. And when this success comes, or this kind of attention comes, you might feel a bit weird. With the King card here, I'm getting two things. And those two things are not contradictory. I feel like this King card is on one hand your own energy, that you might be suddenly pushed into this king-like position. But the king also feels like someone else around you. Someone who, because I drew the king a little bit from this bird perspective. It looks like he's looking like which is weird actually, I should have drawn the king from more kind of a frog perspective. In the old Middle Age paintings, that's what they did to make the kings appear in a portrait very powerful and strong and bigger than everyone else. So they drew them or painted them a little bit from below, so that the person, the viewer who's looking at the picture, has this small feeling towards the king. And I didn't even do it consciously, but I painted him from above and he's looking upwards. And it's just jumping into my eye right now, like this doesn't have to be, this could be a boss of something, but a smaller boss, someone who is not utterly on top of a certain structure or hierarchy, but who has some kind of influential position. And this person might have been above you in some sense, for a certain time, but after this success, whatever this is for you, this person might look upon you and even ask you for a favor. This is not a bad person. I don't feel that this person has used you or, done something weird to you in one point, just because they were maybe they weren't even in a higher position than you. Maybe they were just much older than you, which if we would live in a healthy society, we would it would be that everyone, the older they get, the wiser they get, and we wouldn't then be so afraid of losing our youth and getting older, which I think so many people are afraid of that. And actually we should look up to older people. But don't get me wrong, I know it's not always possible, because just because someone is getting older, they aren't always getting wiser. Unfortunately, aging is not a guarantee for becoming mature for some people. So sometimes it is the case that a younger person can be more mature than someone who is 20 years older. But as I said, in a healthy society, I think it shouldn't be this way. And I also think that we should respect older people much more. And it could just be something like that maybe you once looked upon this person, even though they weren't officially like your boss or in some kind of higher position or higher societal level. It could just be that this person is 20, 30 years older than you, and they had a certain skill or wisdom that you didn't have, and now suddenly changes. And there's also this saying that the teacher at the end sometimes becomes the pupil of his or her own pupil. So it could be a situation like this as well, that suddenly this person will look up to you and ask you, how did you do that? Oh my God, this huge success. Let's just say you write a song, or you wrote a lot of songs. It's just an example. And this person is very experienced with making music, while you aren't, because you are much younger. And then suddenly one song out of nowhere becomes a huge hit. You don't even have to have a record deal nowadays. It could be on Spotify or YouTube or wherever where it's being discovered. And this person might have worked for decades in this field and never had this kind of hit. And suddenly they see that success, like without any envy. I'm not feeling that kind of stuff here. This is not a toxic person. This is someone who will appreciate that, and who will ask you maybe even then to work with them. As I said, it doesn't have to be my examples. It was just something that I was thinking of, that there is just some kind of skill that you both have. It could even be in football, soccer, basketball, any kind of sports. It could be in some kind of crafting, any kind of whatever you do with your hands or your head. It could even be something like being an author. And then there is this unexpected, like you just hitting the nail with a hammer, and it just, I don't know, suddenly does something, has this effect at the right time, and you didn't even plan it. And this person will be a little bit in awe and then ask you maybe for some kind of favor. Oh, that was long. So we have the mermaid card. I feel like this is you on one hand, holding Like when you get used to this, after this shock, when you get used to this situation, you being aware of that diamond, that you're this precious thing that you're holding in your hand, but you are not, hiding it or holding on to it tightly. She has her hand open and loose, showing this diamond to everyone. And usually that's not even mainly the reason, the meaning of this card that I created. Mainly it represents often unrequited love, or like just love that is some kind of impossible to live out, because you remember the typical Disney story, like she's a mermaid, he's a man living on earth, and they can't be together. It can be about something like that, something that is like where there is a strong desire that cannot, or it apparently cannot be fulfilled because it's somehow impossible. Maybe this was even something with your success, that you felt this success was never possible. Maybe even this person warned you that this success would never be possible because they never had it. And again, not in a mean way, like not in this way like, yeah, you will never be successful because you don't have talent or blah, blah, blah. Maybe they were just trying to be grounded and realistic so that you will not be appointed in life. Some people are like that, and then they warn younger people, like, don't have these too high expectations because you might be disappointed, and they don't mean that in a mean way. And maybe you always felt like it could even be a relationship for some of you, but I feel like it is more about some kind of skill or talent or job here. And then you suddenly have what you always worried could just be, like a super big, unrealistic dream. We have the healer here. The healer, I feel two things, is just in general a healing impersonal energy. This is your own healing. This is you healing yourself. This is also a face of this healer woman that radiates a lot of satisfaction, I think. That's how when I look at her face, I think she feels stable within herself and in some way at ease with herself and self-satisfied in a very healthy way. I don't know, I'm just getting that right now from her. And there is nothing egoic or arrogant about it. It's a humble self-satisfaction. Yet, at the same time, I feel like for some of you, this is also an external person. This could be your mother or some motherly energy that is congratulating you, but much more important than that, this could also be a person who works in your specific field and who has a lot of influence there, who has some kind of huge job position in that field. And when you achieve this success, however small or big that success is for you personally, it is a success, that this person will then discover you and might be able to offer you something that could bring you even more success. Let's say you have a great invention, or you build a great furniture, you design something great, or I don't know, maybe you're a young surgeon and you manage to perform a very complicated surgery that many people cannot perform, even though they have been surgeons for 20 years. It could be anything, and this person could then offer you something so that you could, so that you have the opportunity to not only experience this kind of success one time, but several times. That's how it feels as well. So you take it as it resonates. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Death cards. And I feel like this is just a metaphor for this feeling, this doubt that maybe you had for a very long time, that something cannot be done, something is impossible, something is unrequited, that this worry will after you have this experience, this worry will just die. Because this is some kind of magic, something that just came to you out of nowhere seemingly. I mean, you have done the work. Maybe you have done this work a lot of times and you never had any success, or just smaller success, or not the kind of success that you were expecting. And then you started to worry that maybe the great hopes could never be fulfilled. Well, that's quite nice. So I'm just gonna leave it here. Thank you for watching.